Hello there, coming to you live from Abuja, the nation's capital. This is the 6th edition on News Central TV. I'm Nel Taigbe. Our top stories at this hour. United States of America urges U.S. to continue campaign against Iran to the end. Kano State House of Assembly begins proceedings against Deputy Governor Aminu Abdulsalam over alleged 1.6 billion naira misconduct. And IGP Tunji Disu removes Benjamin Hundeyin as false public relations officer. We'll bring you details in a moment. Israel says it has received strong backing from the United States as its military campaign against Iran intensifies. The Defense Minister Israel Katz says the U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth urged Israel to continue its operations to the end during an overnight phone call. According to Katz, Washington reaffirmed its support for Jerusalem's campaign against Tehran. Meanwhile, the Israeli military says its strikes have already taken Iran's leadership and are aimed at weakening what it calls an existential threat. Military spokesman F.E. Defrin says the operations are designed to inflict deeper damage on Iran's capabilities. Iran has responded with fresh attacks, launching drones and missiles towards Israeli targets. Sirens sounded across Tel Aviv, while reports say areas around Jerusalem were also under threat as the confrontation continues.
ומטרת המבצע היא לפגוע קשה במשטר הטרור האיראני עד שיוסר האיום הקיומי. לפגוע ולהסיר את האיום הקיומי לאורך זמן. ואנחנו ממשיכים להעמיק את הפגיעה במשטר. אני חשוב לי לומר שהוא מעורער כבר. הוא התערער מהפגיעה הראשונה ביום שבת בבוקר וההנהגה סוכלה. ולאורך כל יום אנחנו ממשיכים לערער אותו יותר ויותר, להעמיק את הפגיעה בו.
Meanwhile, the Iranian ambassador to South Africa, Mansour Shakib Mokhir, has condemned the recent attacks on Iran by the United States and Israel. He described the strikes, which he says killed hundreds of innocent women and children, as a violation of international law and human rights. News Central's Bongani Siziba reports.
Everyone's speculation about why the U.S. president took this action is just as valid as everyone else. Is Iran at the claws of having ballistic missiles that can reach the United States? According to Iran, absolutely not.
Iran, based on the religious fatwa of the very person who was assassinated, has not pursued nuclear weapons. Iran has had the highest level of cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency. Continuous inspections of Iran's nuclear facilities were ongoing until the military aggression in June 2025.
The Iran ambassador to South Africa has addressed the media, clarifying Iran's position amid ongoing regional tensions.
The aerial attacks carried out by the United States and the Zionist regime is a clear breach of Article 2, Paragraph 4 of the United Nations Charter and are a clear example of armed aggression against the Islamic Republic of Iran. This act has no legal, moral, or rational justification and is a clear instance of aggressive action and the crime of aggression under international law.
He spoke candidly about the Iran stance on the current conflict, highlighting the ongoing war and the devastating toll it has taken.
For example, in the city of Mina, you saw the pictures. In southern Iran, an all-girls elementary school was almost completely destroyed, resulting in the death of nearly 170 innocent children.
He further called on the international community, including South Africa, to support Iran during these challenging times. Despite the turmoil, the ambassador expressed hope for a peaceful resolution and pledged Iran's commitment to dialogue and stability in the Middle East. In Pretoria, for News Central, Bongani Sizib.
In the meantime, governments across the world are stepping up repatriation flights from the Middle East as the U.S.-led war against Iran poses the biggest disruption to global air travel since the COVID-19 pandemic. Nations including United Kingdom, Russia, France, Belgium, and New Zealand are deploying chartered flights, buses, and military aircraft to move nationals from countries such as Oman, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates as tensions in the region continue to rise. Now, decades of friction have culminated in Operation Epic Fury. Following Khamenei's death and 2,365 fatalities, the U.S. and Israel now target Iran's collapsing regional front. Here's a summary of the long-standing frictions between these combatants. U.S.-Iran relations since 1953. Following a CIA-backed coup reinstating the Shah, Washington secured oil dominance and launched Iran's nuclear program by gifting its first research reactor. The 1979 revolution severed ties, leading to a 444-day hostage crisis, U.S. support for Iraq, and the tragic downing of civilian flight IR-655. Labeled a terrorist sponsor in 1984, Iran faced total trade bans by 1995 before President Bush's axis of evil speech exposed covert nuclear enrichment. The 2015 nuclear deal collapsed after U.S. withdrawal, escalating through Soleimani's assassination to 2025 military strikes on 3 major Iranian nuclear facilities. Now let's come on now. U.S.-Israel-Iran war casualties March 2026. Operation Epic Fury has claimed 2,365 lives in 5 days. Iran suffered 2,347 deaths, including Supreme Leader Khamenei, while coalition losses remain minimal at 18 total fatalities. But the major conflicts in the Middle East, U.S.-Israel, decades of war saw over 44,000 Arab fatalities. Israel secured independence and captured the West Bank, Gaza, and Golan Heights before the 1978 peace accord. Israeli incursions against the PLO and Hezbollah resulted in over 18,000 deaths, leading to the PLO's expulsion and a fragile southern Lebanese buffer zone. U.S.-led operations decimated Iraq's military and toppled Saddam Hussein. These conflicts caused over 250,000 Iraqi deaths while securing Kuwaiti liberation and regional regime change. But Operation Epic Fury has killed over 1,000 Iranians and 70 Lebanese. Devastating strikes target Iranian leadership and proxy infrastructure across the collapsing regional front. But we're going to look into these situation in the Middle East with a foreign policy analyst who's joining us virtually, Bolu Michael B. He joins us from Manzini in Eswatini. Bolu, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Generally speaking, what would you say is the situation right now? I mean, looking at the breakdown that we've seen here, it's as though it's been a build-up from the 50s up till now. But one would wonder, is there no point of settlement?
Well, I mean, it's something that region of the world has never really been at peace for some reason, which I really don't understand. If we look at things, it seems like it's driven towards resource control. But if we look at the playbook, that's very frequent from the Iraq War, see the thing going on in Afghanistan, Syria, and the rest of that. It's still the same playbook, and I think it's just what is going on right now in Iran. They take over the country. The narrative will be to strengthen the militia or take away the leader. I mean, even looking at down to North Africa, you see the deposing Libya. If you look at these countries, they are countries that have immense resources, especially oil. So it's really need to sit down and see, observe it in a couple of months or weeks what's really going on. But to my mind, I feel it's just a repetition of the playbook of the events that we've seen in the past repeating itself right now.
Right now, yes, there's been a few days of bombardment here and there, even though the U.S. has described this as a demonstration of superior air power. But then the Congress, U.S. Congress, is saying something about the power of the purse over this conflict is not being given to the government. So how would that affect what's going on right now?
So the Congress, they have the power to stop any war, and it's very simple. They can just simply refuse to pay for it. But voting down a war power resolution, actually cutting funding, they are two different things. Because right now, if we look at things, Congress is basically just talking tough and doing nothing that actually hurts the Trump administration. I do understand that, okay, the Republican Party, they have the majority, but still, there's an opposition that is also strong. Since the War Powers Act was passed in 1973, there's no president that's ever fully accepted his authority, not a single president of the United States. And the Congress also, they've never successfully used that power, the pause, to end any ongoing military operation, either in the past or even right now. So the pattern is very consistent. And what we see is lawmakers, they complain, the president will ignore them, and that back and forth will keep the war going. So the real structural problem is that the defense appropriations are bundled into massive spending bills. And it's a real concern. The supplemental funding request is the real moment of truth. So when Pentagon comes back asking for extra billions to sustain the conflict, it's no longer a war power resolution. It becomes a business, and doesn't look good. So I would want to see the Armed Service Committee members to attach clear conditions and measurable objectives to any supplemental defense funding bill that may hit the floor.
Okay, but let's look at the economic implication of this, for instance. I mean, the Strait of Hormuz, currently it's a bottleneck, and that over $500 billion worth of trade is being hindered or hampered in that strait. But again, this is a conflict. Israel's Middle East crisis has been on for a long time. But some will say this is the worst in the sense that over $500 billion worth of trade is being hampered. What can be done to prevent a total global economic collapse?
Oh, wow, that's a very good question. You see, even right now, we are feeling the impacts of practically every country. Nigeria, for example, we've seen an increase in the palm price within just a couple of hours or even days, because that Strait of Hormuz is very important and is controlled by Iran. I also feel it's part of the playbook. Everything seems to me like business. The war is only lucrative when there's a collapse or there's a collapse of the economic system, and there's an increase in the oil prices and all that. They make more money from it. You see, that trade is important because 20% of Wall Street traded oil passes through that Strait of Hormuz, and the narrowest part is just about 34 kilometers. So you see, it's quite big. So there's no real replacement of that route in terms of volume of oil. So if that place stays closed, the energy prices will definitely go up globally. So what I would like to see energy producing country to do, what I would like to see them do is to organize, come together and authorize a coordinated maximum drawdown of member nations' strategic reserve. Every country that produces oil, they have their reserve, and we must learn from the global recession. Every single price shock that we've experienced in history, from 1973 to 1979, and most recent being the 2008 recession, they all triggered recession. So we can expressly say, looking at precedents, that the world economy is heading towards recession if this the big energy countries don't come together and organize and learn from history. So I hope they will see that and actually have this conversation. And no straits or no geographical area of the world should be indispensable.
All right, thank you so much. Bolu Michael B is a foreign policy analyst who joined us from Manzini, Eswatini. Thank you for coming in this evening. Thank you. Well, when we return, court discharges suspended DCP Abba Kyari on asset declaration charges. Details in a moment. Welcome back. Here's a recap of our major stories. U.S. urges Israel to continue campaign against Iran to the end. Kano State House of Assembly begins proceedings against Deputy Governor Aminu Abdulsalam over alleged 1.6 billion naira misconduct. And IGP Tunji Disu removes Benjamin Hundeyin as Force Public Relations Officer. The Inspector General of Police, Tunji Disu, has removed ACP Benjamin Hundeyin as the Force Public Relations Officer just 6 months into his tenure. The decision was confirmed Thursday morning following a major leadership reshuffle. The removal occurred barely 24 hours after President Tinubu inaugurated Disu as Nigeria's 23rd Inspector General. Disu replaced Kyari Acquitted, leading to immediate internal restructuring and shift within the police hierarchy. However, Hundeyin's successor is yet to be announced. Meanwhile, the Federal High Court in Abuja has discharged and acquitted the suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police Abba Kyari of a 23-count charge of alleged non-declaration of assets filed by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. While delivering the judgment in the suit, Justice James Omotosho ruled that the NDLEA did not provide sufficient evidence to establish ownership of the landed properties alleged to have been owned by Kyari. The court also held that it found no material evidence linking Kyari to the property at Fountain Estate, Katsina, said to belong to Ramatu Kyari, nor to properties on Linda Choko Road, Asokoro, and in Maiduguri, Borno State. On the charges against Kyari's brother for alleged conspiracy and false affidavits, the court held that the prosecution failed to substantiate the allegations and all the defendants were consequently discharged and acquitted. Let's talk a bit of politics. The Kano State House of Assembly has officially launched impeachment proceedings against Deputy Governor Aminu Abdulsalam Gwarzo. During Thursday plenary, Majority Leader Lawan Hussaini Dala presented a notice signed by 38 lawmakers citing gross misconduct and breach of public trust. The allegations center on Gwarzo's tenure as Commissioner for Local Government, where he is accused of siphoning over 1.6 billion naira. Charges include receiving monthly kickbacks totaling 463 million naira and diverting 736 million naira under the guise of special assignment. He is further accused of facilitating an illegal 440 million naira payment to a private pharmaceutical firm. The Speaker has approved the service of the notice, giving the Deputy Governor 2 weeks to respond as the Assembly follows constitutional procedures under Section 188 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. And former Governor of Bayelsa State and Senator representing Bayelsa West, Kyari Dixon, has formally decamped from the People's Democratic Party to a newly formed political party, the Nigeria Democratic Congress. Dixon, while speaking to newsmen in Abuja, accused governors in the PDP of being responsible for what he called an avoidable crisis and placing their interest above the interest of the party. He says the NDC, which recently received its certificate from the Independent National Electoral Commission as a registered party, will be open to all Nigerians and ensure that the nation does not drift into a one-party state. Still talking politics, protesters who identify themselves as members of the opposition African Democratic Congress have called on Justice Joyce Abdul Malik of the Federal High Court to recuse herself from a case bordering on the party's internal affairs, alleging bias. The protesters who gathered at the entrance of the Federal High Court of Nigeria in Abuja described the situation as a calculated attempt to weaken opposition politics in the country. Carrying placards, the demonstrators passed what they termed a vote of no confidence on the judge, insisting that for justice to be seen as impartial, she must step aside from further proceedings on the matter.
Let it be known to Justice Joyce Abdul Malik and her co-travelers that we will occupy the Federal High Court tomorrow, 6/3/2026, to ensure that she did not sit to carry out the assignment given to her by the ruling APC.
How can a judge who is sitting on a case be bullying the lawyer of a party? Yes. Because you have an ulterior motive, because you have been given, I don't know who is giving that instruction.
So you say her conduct has shown?
Her conduct has shown. It's easy to see. What is there when a party said, we don't have confidence in you, then you recuse yourself.
Yes, so the woman is being sponsored by APC. The woman is being manipulated by Wike. Wike has sworn that nobody will contest against Bola Tinubu.
Yes.
And we want to sound it as note of warning that should that woman come to court tomorrow, we will make sure she will not leave this court.
Well, you saw him in that report, but he's here in the studio. Oladimeji Fabi, Deputy National Financial Secretary in the ADC. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Neota. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Good and robust.
I'm trying to learn from you. But you were not smiling when you were out there.
Because it's a matter that affects our country. It's a serious matter. And when democracy is under threat, you can imagine if democracy runs trouble in Nigeria, then Africa is in trouble.
But this matter in court has to do with the deregistration of the party, right? Is that the one you're protesting about?
Yes, a whole lot of onslaught against the opposition parties.
So you say it's an internal party affair, but it is your party members that went to court. Why would they go to court? Does that mean that your house internally is in turmoil?
Well, no, the first and foremost, those who went to court, by our estimation, by our standard, don't even have the local standard to do that in the first instance. This matter shouldn't have even gotten to this level if we have a judiciary that is sincere. Unfortunately, our judiciary have constituted itself to be part of those, rather than deepening democracy, they want to, widen the gap and the division. That is what it's unfortunate. Because the guy in question that went to court has been suspended since 2022 or so, thereabout. So the matter has been in court, it's been dragging because, of course, those who are behind this food dragging have reasons for doing that. They don't want the opposition.
Why do you think there are people behind this?
It's obvious. We know.
You already. Yes. First of all, you agreed that it is a member of the party who was suspended that went to court.
Neota, a lot of things happen in our country now. Politically, we know how the ruling government is really struggling because the ruling APC is struggling because they just want it to be them, despite their ill performances and all the things that the country, the Nigerian people are not happy with. You can see they really want to tenaciously hold on to power despite the failures, the many failures, the obvious failures of this government. So they are looking for quite a lot of things to make sure that they're able to manipulate Nigerians and unfortunately, Neota, like I said there, when any country is failing, Neota, when executive is becoming so reckless, it is the judiciary. When society is getting this, getting to a disorderly manner, it is the judiciary that steps in. It is the judiciary that rescued the country, that kind of society. But what do we have in Nigeria is a judiciary that has now been so complicit in most of these things. I witnessed something during Malame Rufai's case recently. I was in court briefly, and when I couldn't stay to the end, but people that were there came back, they saw what they never saw in any court proceedings, where both parties were asking for short adjournment, both parties. And the judge said no, and gave a date till April 20-something. What does that mean anything to anybody here? What does that suggest?
Well, but you know that you make a request in court.
That's what I'm saying.
When you file a motion, regardless of who filed the motion, it's at the discretion of the judge to say when the case will happen.
Oh, well, that was malicious. That was malicious. It was. I don't know the word to use, and I don't think that it should be that. It should be like that.
So, in your opinion, what's the way forward?
We've seen in this country judges. I remember the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar told me something some time ago when he was having this running battle with his boss, and he had to go to court to challenge most of the decisions that was being taken by the president. And he went to court about 19 times. And all these 19 times, he won everything. And he said he never saw a judge from the lower court to the Supreme Court. He never had to speak to any judge as a sitting vice president. And today, those cases, those judgments have so much enriched our jurisprudence and will become landmark judgment today. Can we still have this kind of judges? Can we still have that kind of judiciary that we had then? It's painful. Judiciary is supposed to help the country. Once the society is failing, it's judiciary that steps in that rescue.
Okay, so
that's not what we're having now.
In 30 seconds, what do you think?
Counter judgment and all
what
that.
What do you think should be done in 30 seconds?
We have to beg them. We have to plead with them. I said it there. Please save this democracy. The moment you fail in doing that, all of us are in trouble. And that's the advantage the ruling government is taking, because we have judges. There are good ones among them. We have judges who have lost all sense of morality. And they don't even, what they swore to protect, the Constitution, the justice, they're not even interested in doing that again. They are there, they know, but we still have good ones among them, but they are so infinitesimal. So it's dangerous. So they should please save this democracy. That's what we're asking for. And that's why I went to identify with these people here this afternoon. These Nigerians, can you say these numbers don't have a voice? They are Nigerians. And they are saying, no, save democracy. They're not saying anybody should go, and they said, save our democracy, because they know the worst of the democracy is better than a military government. So that's what we're saying. All
right, thank you so much. Oladimeji Fabi is Deputy Financial Secretary of the African Democratic Congress.
Thank you very much. I want to see you.
We'll see.
Great guy.
Well done.
Thank you.
We'll take a moment, and when we return, we'll be looking at the pathway to the 2027 elections. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Now, the Electoral Act 2026 marks a digital revolution for Nigeria's 2027 polls. That's what some will say, and replaces the 2022 Act. But legal experts are concerned and are being cautious of potential conflicts that might come up between the Act and the Constitution. And as you know, anything that is contrary to the groundnum, which is the Constitution, is thrown out. But let's say this. Let's look at the key strengths of the 2026 Electoral Act. Now, the 2026 Electoral Act, there were upgrades that were brought in there, and with enough strengths. Technical, tech-driven transparency, mandates there, early funding to boost transparency and planning. Meanwhile, new criminal penalties for officials now deter, or are supposed to deter, procedural abuse to ensure strict electoral integrity. Inclusive identification, rules out, and elimination of indirect primaries empower grassroots voters. Well, these reforms target elite capture, fostering a more accessible and representative democratic process for 2027. But let's look at some things that might be a weakness in this law. The discretionary manual backups and restricted judicial review create significant loopholes. Critics warn that network issue gaps and filing limits may facilitate manipulation while unconstitutionally blocking citizens from seeking justice. Punitive petitioner fines and mandated primary formats threaten party autonomy and legal access. Furthermore, compressed election schedules risk favoring wealthy incumbents by undermining the engagement of less resourced political actors. I mean, because of the time frame now, it might be difficult for people to raise the money they need to contest any position that they are seeking. But let's look at they're the strength and they're the weakness. What about issues that might arise as it concerns the Constitution of Nigeria as amended? So see this. Mandating specific primary methods may violate Section 40's protection of party autonomy. Such interference risks unconstitutional meddling, overstepping the National Assembly's legislative boundaries, and infringing upon political associations' internal affairs. You know that part of the Constitution that talks about freedom of association and all of that. Okay. High filing fees and narrow petition grounds create illegal barriers to justice. What? But there is that right of every citizen, the right to judicial, to justice. Well, I'm trying to put it together. I'm not a legal man, but we'll get a lawyer to look at this. Now, these punitive measures stifle free speech and contradict the fundamental constitutional right to seek redress or electoral grievances. Okay. I'm being joined by Vincent Otaopupu, constitutional lawyer, public affairs analyst in the studio. Thank you for joining us, Vincent.
Thank you for having me.
Also joining us from the newsroom, from our newsroom, is Michael Amoson. I don't know if he's there right now, a legal practitioner as well. Oh, there you are, Michael. Nice to see you. Welcome.
Nice to meet you again.
Okay, let me start with you, Vincent. I mean, we've looked at the things we've looked at so far. You've seen the strengths of the 2026 Electoral Act. You've seen the weaknesses, and I'm sure you've seen this before now. You've also seen the possible conflicts with the Constitution. And what do you think overall, generally?
For purposes of clarity and sincere appreciation of the subject matter, we must start by re-emphasizing that the Constitution is a diagram. Thank you for emphasizing that. And it provides by Section 1 that this Constitution is supreme, and its provisions shall have a binding force at all persons and authority throughout the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So, and subsection 1, subsection 3, that if any law is inconsistent with the provision of this Constitution, such other law shall, to the extent of its inconsistency, be void, including the Electoral Act. Because Constitution is diagram from which every other legal norm derives its legal validity and effect. Constitution will not contain everything to guide human conduct and human affairs. That's where there is now delegated power on the National Assembly to make the miniature laws which the Electoral Act falls onto. Now, by the provisions of the Constitution, there are so many, the new Electoral Act has brought so many innovations. And there are also certain shortcomings that seems to violate the principles of the principles in the 1999 Constitution. Now, I will tell you for sure that the 2026 Electoral Act signed into law by the president seems to be that the National Assembly has taken us back in the age of 2010 Electoral Act. Because some of the innovations brought by the 2022 Electoral Act, they have been removed.
Okay.
Now, one, when you look at Section 77 of the Constitution of the Electoral Act, new Electoral Act, which has provoked a certain scholarship disputation, ranging from contentious issues and responses, such that the section provides that a political party shall maintain a digital voters register, register of members with the commission. That is okay. Now, it provided also that the such register must be submitted to INEC 21 days to their primary election. But the problem there is that a member of a political party who happens to register today and who wants to contest the election to vote and to be voted for cannot be eligible to contest unless his or her name is contained on the list of membership register already submitted to INEC. That is to say, if the list is submitted today to INEC, register of voters to INEC today, and peradventure by next tomorrow I choose to belong to a political party, they will say, no, you can't be a member of a political party. Which
is that not curing some situations that we have people jumping from one party to the other and trying to contest for position?
No, what I'm saying that you cannot effectively implement that section vis-a-vis the provision of section 40 of the Constitution, which has granted right to freedom of assembly and association.
No, but hold on.
The provisions of the Constitution is highest.
I agree.
But
hold on. No, Vincent, hold on. You cannot just jump us like that.
Okay,
hold on.
Okay.
The Constitution is highest. It's the ground
yes,
all right?
Yes.
But then the Constitution also allows the parties to come up with their own internal party constitution.
Yes.
And all of these party constitutions have it that you must have been a member for a while before you want to contest for any position on the platform of the party.
Yes.
So I guess what the new Electoral Act is trying to do is to deter those who want to jump from party A to party B because they lost a ticket here. They are sure they can get to this. But hold on. Let's go to Michael Amosu. Michael, we'd like you to weigh in on this one here now. He is concerned that this section might also hinder those who are seeking freedom of expression and seeking to contest for one position or the other. What do you think?
My opinion is going to be a bit different from my learned friend in the studio there. I think that particularly what that section has done is to try and curb cross-carpeting across party lines. I think it's not healthy enough for our democracy. It's not healthy enough. Why we do not contest that there's the freedom of association, a 21-day window to have all digital registers available, it's not a bad thing. I think that we can hold ourselves accountable to some extent by allowing every person interested to run to be a member 21 days to whatever is happening. I don't know what can happen between 21 days to the election. Really, I don't think and if it does infringe on that section of the Constitution, the court will be there to, matters will be contested in court. Constitutional matter, of course, like he said, is going to take precedence over every other matter that comes under it.
But since you have brought in the court here, let's look at this matter of the punitive measures. You know, when you have punitive measures that that hinder or do not allow people room to contest a situation in court, the time limit, and then that matter of at what point are you allowed to file, the time limit for filing of any situation, how would that work?
Election petition matters from the beginning for every one of us that knows, has always come with its own stringent timelines. It is why it's in a class of its own. The timeline for election petition matter is not same as every other matter, you know. So, but like I said, when laws are being passed like this, it is left to be tested in the courts. Some of them is going to be returned, some of them is going to be retained. So we will look forward to the coming days to see, you know, how that plays out ordinarily.
You say some are going to be returned, some are going to be retained. I don't understand.
For me, for purposes of emphasis, this issue of Section 77, to me, the Supreme Court have held in litany and cornucopia of cases that the Electoral Act, the party constitution, cannot impose further obligation and qualification criteria on candidates for election unless those specified under the Constitution. Section 65 has provided qualification for the House of Reps and Senate. Section 106, I think so, or 109. 106 has provided for State Assembly, 131 for President, and 177 for governorship. 1, you must be a citizen of Nigeria. 2, you must belong to a political party and sponsored by the political party. 3, you must attain the age of 35 years, and as case may be, you must also have a school certificate or its equivalent. These are laconically and copiously provided as ground to contest election under those sections. And Supreme Court have emphasized it time with that number. There's no other miniature law, including Electoral Act or party constitution and guideline, that can impose further obligation. So by making enacting that Section 77 and saying that you must be a member of a political party from so and so, is imposing a further obligation on a political party outside the criteria for membership.
What happened to the Supreme Court ruling that the party's internal affairs, this matter of membership and leadership, is the party's internal affairs?
I am coming to that. There's
no time. You need to get to the point quick.
That support my position.
How?
That because the Electoral Act, as it were, has not defined what is internal affairs. So it will say recourse to judicial pronouncement to determine what is internal affairs.
Okay, can you just hold your thoughts for a moment there? We'll go on a quick break, and when we'll come back, this conversation will pick it up again. Just stay with us. Welcome back. I still have Vincent Otakwukwu, constitutional lawyer and public affairs analyst, and Michael Amosun, who joined us from our newsroom, all here still discussing this matter of the new Electoral Act. Vincent, before we went on that break, we're talking about Section 40 and how the new Electoral Act is contravening Section 40. But I said something, and Michael, please, we'll come back to you, so please just pay attention to this, because I know you're on the other side of this matter. Vincent, the Constitution says every person shall be entitled to assembly freely and associate with other persons, and in particular, he may form or belong to any political party, right? That's what you're going to, right? But each party, and even the Supreme Court's judgment has also supported this, that each party has a right to determine its own internal affairs, which is, membership is one of those internal affairs. And the Electoral Act says they must submit their party membership list to INEC 21 days before elections. But yet you're saying that they are contravening the Constitution?
Yes.
But the Supreme Court, which has also ruled, has also said that they are allowed to do that.
No.
You're the lawyer here, so help me.
Supreme Court position is what I have said before. It's in consonant with their proposition that internal affairs of a political party are non-justiciable. 1. Political parties are political party association is like a village meeting. You have right to choose your membership.
Fantastic.
And you keep your register of membership. Now, that is also strengthened by the section I have said now, that said for you to be eligible to contest for election, section 65, 106, 131, and 177 of the Constitution, you must be a member of a political party and sponsored by a political party. This Constitution, which is that grand norm, did not say that for you to be eligible to contest for Senate or House of Rep or governorship or president of the country, that you must be a member of a political party. I must have been a member of that political party from so and so to so and so time, which the section 77 of the New Electoral Act is trying to introduce, to restrict the fact that your membership must stop at some point. If you want to contest, you must be a member from so and so to so and so time.
But that is also in line with the party's constitution.
The party constitution, section 2 of the party constitution
which
says,
party's constitution are you speaking?
All the political party constitution, we always say, the preamble say that notwithstanding anything to constitution, that this constitution is subject to the provisions of 1999 constitution.
But hold on. The party constitution that says you must be a member of this party before you can seek elective position does not in any way mean that you are no longer a member of the party.
No, it is the Electoral Act, section 77, that I saved that now.
Hold on, let's get to Michael because we are running out of time. Michael, please, can you help us resolve this matter once and for all?
I think, like I mentioned earlier, a party, the fact that the person will not be able to, the right to contest and the right to be a member, there are two different agendas. There are two different items. I think this particularly concerns those that are about to contest for a particular position. And I don't think in any way it impedes on the right or their constitutional right, because it doesn't stop them from being a member. It's only guiding how to become, the same way it has other specifications to say if you want to contest for this must be there, you must be a citizen, you must be a this and all. This particular one, I do not think, in my opinion, and it's open to legal debates, I don't think in my opinion it impedes on any person's right to so long as you have been able to abide with what the party constitution says. And the Electoral Act, for example, is trying to also curb some of the lessons that some of the Nigerians have been able to raise before now. So, we envisage that things like this will come up at this particular point in time. Like I said, when new laws come, these are bound to happen. But in any way, I do not see any way from my own end that thing affects the chance of anybody at the polls. I don't see. It's sufficient for a person to be a member.
Just to clarify, you're saying that what the new Electoral Act is saying is not in any way stopping you. The right to contest is not in any way stopping you from your right of membership.
If you want to contest, just go by. You are a member. Nobody's stopping you from joining an association. It's not stopping you to do any other thing. But at least be a part of the party for the time prescribed. I don't think it's any way problematic.
But how do you mean that's not the law?
The law is this.
You must be a member of a political party.
Constitution has, you have read it.
Exactly. You must be a member of a political party.
You must be a member of a political party. That is one.
Hold on.
That is qualification to contest for any office.
Exactly.
Electoral Act cannot determine qualification ground. Supreme Court has said it in so many cases.
It is not the Electoral Act that's determining qualification ground.
No.
It is the party constitution.
It is not party
constitution. Each of these parties have their own constitutions.
No. Party constitution, we are aware. State membership, we are aware. Supreme
Court, but for a certain number of months.
No. There is no constitution of a political party that says you must be a member for so and so. No. What the Electoral Act has done by section 77 is to reduce the membership duration of a political membership of a political party. That if you want to be a member and contest in any political party, you must make sure your name is on the register of voters. 21 days to primaries. But that is the section you have read, section 40 of the constitution you have read now, did not say so.
Okay, Michael, your closing statement. Vincent has said his own. Won't give him another chance again. Let's hear from you, Michael.
Well, while we have, like I said, where we have all these issues coming up with the new laws, I also want to say that this, for example, has also included some innovation. Now we have prisoners that can vote. I think it's a laudable one. There are many things that also come in at the instance of this law that are laudable. Before now, it's not the case, and they are Nigerian citizens. So for me, I'm very particular that we have prisoners that can now vote now, electronic transmission that can now be instant, which was contested some few days ago. As far as we are concerned, I think it's a good thing. And then, of course, we will keep seeing areas to improve upon, but this area that we should laud.
Okay. Thank you so much. Even though the electronic transition matter that has the manual backup is still a contentious matter for a lot of people.
Let's talk about that section 60 software.
We will, but you see, you have stayed on this membership thing, and we have taken our time, Vincent. So
there are other sections.
We will get
Section
back.
84.
We will get back to this.
Primary election. Direct and indirect primaries.
We will get back
Transmission.
to this. Vincent Otapu, who is a constitutional lawyer and public affairs analyst who joined us in our studio, and Michael Amoson is a legal practitioner, joined us on our newsroom. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming this evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Somalia's parliament has approved a new constitution introducing direct elections for lawmakers for the first time. Prime Minister Hamza Abdi Barre described the move as a major milestone in the country's political transition. Under the previous system, members of parliament were selected through an indirect clan-based process, and the president was elected by the legislative chambers. President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud has backed the reform, but the amendments also extend his mandate by 1 year, suggesting elections may be postponed.
waan ognahay waqti dheer oo fasaxagii baarlamaanka xaq u lahaa waxaad u horteen si ummadda Soomaaliyeed ay ugu baxdo dastuurku meel gaar ah ugu baxdo dastuur rasmi ah u yeelato raadeed yaad u horteen maartay waqtigiina
runtii dastuurka muddo dheer soo qaatay baarlamaano badan ayaa ka soo shaqeeyay waana suuragali weysay marka maanta baarlamaankii koonfurnaad ayaa ka shaqeeyay oo soo dhameystiray halkan aan lagu ansixiyay runtii waa arrin taariikhi ah
markii koowaad dastuur Soomaaliyeed iyadu ay leedahay ay samaysato taariikhda Soomaaliyeed kadib burburkii maanta ayay golaha shacabka Jamhuuriyadda Federaalka Soomaaliya go'aansadeen inay ka baxaan.
And that's all we can take for today on the 6th edition, but here's a recap of our major stories. U.S. urges Israel to continue campaign against Iran to the end. We also told you that the Kano State House of Assembly has begun proceedings against the Deputy Governor, and that IGP Tunji Disu has removed Benjamin Hundeyin as Force Public Relations Officer. You can send your comments or what eyewitness report to the numbers showing on your screen on WhatsApp. We'd also encourage you to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV on all the platforms. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, GoTV, channel 23, StarTimes, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube, and indeed all the social media platforms. We stream on all the platforms. Many thanks for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. I'm Neota Igbe.